Emma and Jake had been together for 6 years, sharing a peaceful life in their cozy Portland apartment. From the outside, their world was a picture of perfect harmony. But inside, that comfortable peace had slowly morphed into a quiet routine, and routine had become a silent, creeping distance. They existed side by side, but the vibrant connection that once defined them was fading into the background. One rainy Friday evening, a sense of stillness hung heavy in the air. Desperate to break the monotony, Emma turned to Jake with a hopeful glint in her eyes. "What if we invited another couple over for dinner?" she suggested. Jake hesitated. The idea of introducing new energy into their quiet space felt unfamiliar, but seeing the genuine excitement on Emma's face, a flicker of what they used to be, he agreed. That night, Lisa and Mark arrived, and they didn't just bring a bottle of wine. They brought laughter, stories, and a warmth that instantly filled the room, pushing back the shadows of routine. The conversation flowed with an ease that Emma and Jake hadn't shared in months. They talked about travel, about old memories, about silly, everyday things. The air felt lighter, charged with a new and exciting energy, and then something shifted. It was subtle, almost imperceptible. Emma noticed the way Jake leaned in when Lisa spoke, his focus sharp and attentive in a way she hadn't seen directed at her for a long time. At the same time, Jake saw how Mark's gentle compliments and easygoing humor made Emma laugh, a free, unburdened laugh that had become so rare. Nothing crossed a line. No inappropriate words were spoken, no overt gestures were made. Yet the atmosphere in the room was charged with an unspoken current of emotion. Every smile seemed to hold a deeper meaning. Every shared glance between the four of them lingered just a fraction of a second too long. When the evening finally ended and the door closed behind their guests, the apartment was suddenly, deafeningly quiet. Emma and Jake stood in the silence, their hearts racing with a strange mix of confusion and exhilaration. They didn't speak, but they didn't need to. They both sensed that a fundamental part of their shared reality had just been altered. Something important had changed. A few days later, driven by a curiosity they couldn't quite name, they invited Lisa and Mark over again, this time for a game night. The easy laughter returned, but so did that subtle, underlying tension. This time, the conversations ventured into deeper territory. They didn't just talk about their days. They talked about their dreams, the ones they were still chasing and the ones they had let go. They spoke of their fears, their regrets, and that profound, quiet loneliness that can somehow exist even within a loving, committed relationship. In small, separate moments, the connections deepened. Emma found herself in the kitchen with Mark, refilling drinks, but the conversation drifted. She spoke about her passions, the parts of herself she felt had been put on a shelf, and in his thoughtful replies, she felt seen, truly understood, in a way that resonated deep within her. Meanwhile, on the balcony, under the soft glow of the city lights, Jake shared long conversations with Lisa. He found himself opening up about the pressures and doubts he rarely voiced, and her presence, her way of listening, stirred emotions he hadn't anticipated. A feeling of being genuinely heard. By the end of the night, it was undeniable. All four of them felt it, a gentle but powerful emotional storm swirling between them. It was a complex mix of attraction, curiosity, and a profound sense of connection that none of them could ignore or dismiss. It wasn't about infidelity. It was about resonance. It was the feeling of a forgotten part of your soul humming in response to someone new. After their friends left for the second time, the silence that followed was different. It wasn't empty. It was full of unsaid things. Finally, Jake broke it. "We need to talk," he said, and Emma simply nodded. And so they did. For the first time in what felt like years, they talked with raw, unfiltered honesty. They admitted the feelings the evening had stirred up. They didn't frame it as betrayal or temptation, but as something far more significant, an awakening. It was an awareness of how much they had been neglecting, not just in their relationship, but within themselves. It was an awareness of the emotional voids they had stopped trying to fill for each other, voids that had become so vast that the kindness of near strangers could rush in to fill them. They talked late into the night, their words weaving a bridge back to each other over the chasm that had quietly grown between them. The next morning, over coffee, the conversation continued, calmer now, more deliberate. They spoke about trust and about boundaries. They acknowledged that what they had experienced with Lisa and Mark wasn't a threat to be feared, but a mirror that had been held up to their relationship. The experience had awakened something incredibly real, not a fleeting temptation, but a catalyst for profound emotional growth. It showed them exactly what was missing. In the days that followed, a conscious shift occurred. They started choosing each other again, actively and deliberately. It was in the small things, long walks in the park where they held hands not out of habit, but out of a renewed desire for closeness. It was in the late-night conversations that replaced the silent scrolling on their phones. They started sharing their dreams again, not as distant fantasies, but as a joint project they were building together. The emotional storm hadn't broken them. It hadn't pushed them apart. Instead, it had forced them to look at the foundations of their love and see the cracks they had ignored. And in seeing them, they were able to repair them, making them stronger than ever before. The evenings with Lisa and Mark had stirred unexpected, complicated feelings, but through that turbulence, Emma and Jake discovered something beautiful and resilient about their bond. They learned that love isn't fragile when it's honest. It doesn't shatter when faced with uncomfortable truths. It becomes stronger, more flexible, and more profound when hearts are brave enough to be open, to be vulnerable, and to confront the quiet spaces that have grown between them. That quiet, hard-won understanding stayed with them, filling their home, not with the old, comfortable silence, but with the new, vibrant warmth and the absolute certainty that even the most turbulent emotional storms can lead two people closer if they choose to walk through them together. Thank you for watching.